The Wildcat Sports Club CNY Brewfest is coming up January 31st and February 1st at the New York State Fairgrounds. Taste your way through unlimited samples from more than 100 breweries. Now featuring hard ciders, seltzers, craft cocktails, and mocktails too. Grab your tickets now at cnybrewfest.com.
You know what I love, Steve? Being a jerk.
Listen, dude, we've been doing a show for 90 minutes.
I had a chance to listen to your last call. We game plan for PJ Hall.
Uncle. I have a list of guys I would never hang out with. Your name is right on the top.
Do you like the worst song bracket we're doing?
It's considerably better than the supplement bracket. Let's start with that.
I won a limbo contest.
Oh, my God.
Fran Brown joining us.
These guys are working their butts off. They expect to see their fans.
You want extra money just because you're North Carolina? I'm in all right
What an honor for you and Jordan to be next to me
every day.
This is Orange Nation.
There's music, there's fun, there's us. It's everything you could want all in one place.
With Stephen Fonte and Paulie Sibilia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to have you with us alongside Paulie Sibilia. I'm Stephen Fonte. We welcome you into a Friday edition of Orange Nation. We've got a bunch of guests lined up for you. We've got John Schmeelk, our good friend from the New York Giants, as we wrap up the NFL season, look ahead to the offseason for Big Blue. He'll join us at 12:15, 12:30. John O'Dearna, defensive coordinator, Syracuse men's lacrosse, opener set for tomorrow. Jeff Faraudo, he's the co-publisher of Cal Bears on SI. He'll join us at 1 o'clock as we break down SU's next opponent on the basketball court.
He's going to give us the Bear necessities,
There you
Steve.
go. There you go.
The Bear facts.
We'll mix in your phone calls throughout 315-437-7644.
I've got great news, Steve.
This is important information.
Breaking sports news. You hear it first.
This, for all of our Q Sports Talk followers and YouTube followers, Q Sports Talk, we got a new computer in the studio, Steve.
So that can't be an excuse
No,
anymore.
it's no longer an excuse. All right? I can speak to both YouTube and Twitch chat at the same time.
That's exciting. And
Yes.
now the bump backs, no more like your computer locking up or...
Yeah, I don't know about that. Let's get there first. But I can now talk to both chats. Very exciting.
That is exciting. That was worth breaking in and leading the show.
I will now
with.
get insulted double the amount I normally do.
You can handle it. You're a big boy.
Yeah, it's not fun. This isn't a fun basketball season.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I was texting Brian and Jordan last night because we share our clips from our Q Sports Talk account on Instagram, and I don't know how. I'm old. I don't know how to shut the notifications off, so I go home and try to decompress and be like, okay. So Angry John called yesterday and said Syracuse basketball was dead, and a couple people called me stupid and a homer. And I get home, and my phone just starts beeping, beep, 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 and I look, and it's just people calling me an idiot at home now too.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Can't get away from it.
no.
Well, I'm sorry that I left you high and dry yesterday. It was, I would have been here if I could have been here for moral support. But this is like the ongoing illness that I cannot get over. So
You were faking. I'm not gonna say any names, but a source of mine said, "Is it just me, or is Steve sick after every bad Syracuse loss?"
It's funny you should say that because I said that to Mike McAllister last night. I said, I'm sure that people were like crushing me for not being there after a loss. You know how many times they've lost this year? Right?
Yeah, no, that means you're sick a lot then.
No, I think I've been sick twice after games. It's no, I did not duck coming into the show because I didn't want to deal with it. I legitimately for the last week have been battling something. And my voice just isn't quite right, as you can still hear today. But hopefully Monday will be the day. I think I came back a day too early, I think is what happened, to be honest with you.
Too soon. You're day-to-day.
I was. I came back too soon. Had a setback. Hopefully the weekend will do me well, and I'll be back ready to go on Monday.
See, this is unnecessary. Will Paulie read these? And then KJ Girl on YouTube says, can he read? Like, that was completely unnecessary. I can read. And I will acknowledge the chat. I acknowledge his chat more than any other host on this stupid radio station. Thank you.
All right. So what do you want to start with today?
I don't know. How important is this Cal game? If they lose to Cal, I'm done. I quit. They got to win this game. You got to split this. you got to be. Come on, you've got to separate yourself from those bottom three.
You do,
teams.
right? And we talked about that on the Orange Nation TV show last night. Is that you look at the situation now, and normally going into February, there's pressure because you're talking about NCAA tournament, you're talking about net rankings and your resume and the bubble, and that is obviously not a thing. It hasn't been a thing for a while, but there is still, I think, internal pressure on this team, and maybe external pressure too. Because, as you said, bottom three teams don't make the ACC tournament. They're okay right now, but you're dangerously close to the rest of that pack.
Yeah.
And, they've got 10 games left. They got to go 7-3 if you're talking about a winning record. If you're talking about 16-15 in the regular season, they got to go 7-3, which seems unattainable at this point.
Yeah, but they also have played, besides Duke, all of the tough games. North Carolina, everybody.
I think SMU is going to be tough. I think SMU is pretty good.
You just win the games. Shut up and win.
I mean, you've got Duke on your schedule left. You've got North Carolina, which, again, I know that they're not the North Carolina of old. They're still North Carolina. Well, yeah, I mean, Miami stinks.
Virginia.
Yeah, okay. So you're pointing Virginia out the bad teams. I'm pointing out the teams. Like, if the margin for error is 3 losses.
Yeah, after Wednesday, though, they've played the top 4 teams already, right?
Well, yes, but SMU's kind of in that mix right now of that.
Yeah, well, they're not. There's a top tier in the ACC, and then SMU, Pittsburgh are right below, right? Wouldn't you say?
Well, from a standings perspective, SMU is part of that top tier right now. I guess SMU is. What's their conference record? Okay, I mean, well, they're tied with Wake, so yeah, you've got Duke, Clemson, and Louisville are the top 3, and then who did you put as the 4th team? I guess
I put Wake as the.
Okay,
4th.
So Wake is tied with SMU.
Yeah, all right, let's do it.
Power rankings?
No.
Oh, what? What are we doing?
Steve,
okay.
Can you please Google, has SMU played any of the good teams for me? It's Paulie will ask Steve to Google something he can do himself. Has SMU yet played Duke, Clemson?
Well, Paulie, I'm glad you asked. SMU, they have played Duke. They lost by a lot. 89-62. They did play North Carolina. They lost to North Carolina. They did play Louisville. They lost to Louisville.
Okay. So yeah, they're the next tier.
Let's see, have they played Wake yet? They play Wake in 2 weeks. They have not played Wake yet.
Clemson.
They play Clemson right after Wake. They play Clemson a week later.
So yeah, I think it's those 4 and then a next tier, Pitt, SMU.
So Duke, Clemson, Louisville is 3.
Yeah.
Are you
Wake
saying
Forest? I'm putting Wake in the top 4.
Okay, but Wake is 7-3. Louisville and Clemson are 9-1. You're
yes.
Okay. If you do it by the standings, that's all I'm saying. Like, the standings are very clear cut.
Yes,
that Duke, Clemson, and Louisville are the top 3.
Yes,
and then SMU, Wake, and Stanford are all tied at 7-3.
I'm going the top 4 teams, Steve.
Okay,
that's what I said. Top 4, and then Mario, please come back.
Do you want me to be sick again? Because I can be sick.
Oh, you're making me sick. And then I think you got Pitt, SMU, North Carolina,
Stanford. Stanford's 7-3. I mean,
that next tier, and then there's the next tier, which is Syracuse.
Cal is in there. Florida State, Vatech, Virginia,
and Vatech's, I think, a little lower, although they just beat Florida State.
Virginia Tech's 4-6. Syracuse 3-7. So I guess the reason I bring it up, like their record, and they've got 10 games left, and they would have to go 7-3 to finish with a winning record. If you're even going to sniff that or even talk about it, again, I don't know if it's realistic or not. I mean, it feels like 7-3 is unattainable right now. Do you feel like that?
Yes.
Okay. So we agree on that. So you were saying, well, they've played a lot of the best teams. Okay, but still, they would have to go 7-3, and I don't think we've seen anything to lead us to believe this team's going to go 7-3 down the stretch. But if they want to at least keep that in play, they have to win tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like this becomes a must-win of a different kind. This isn't a must-win about net ranking and NCAA tournament. This is a must-win if you want to have a chance to finish with a winning record.
Sometimes I'm jealous of Brian Higgins because he gets to talk to the show and nobody sasses him.
Am I sassing you right now?
Yeah, you sass me a lot.
What? No,
you
we're having a conversation.
Yeah, you sass. You give me, as my dad would say, you're giving me lip.
I'm not, though. Does anyone else think it's odd? I mean,
I said the top 4 teams.
I know what you said, but the standings have a very clear-cut top 3 teams, right?
Yes, but I said,
and then there are 3 teams that are tied for 4th.
Yes.
So
how
you
do
said
the buys work?
Huh?
How do the buys work in the ACC tournament? You want to Google that for me? Is it the first
because now there's 15? So isn't it? It's the same format. Yeah. So it's the top 4. Yeah.
Thank you. I rest my case, Your Honor.
But you're acting like Wake Forest, of course, is in that top 4. Like, how do you know Wake is better than SMU right now leads the conference in scoring? I don't know. I mean, their losses are to Duke, Louisville, and North Carolina.
I said the top 4 teams.
But you're saying, well, Wake is in the top 4, SMU's in that next team. How do you know that?
Because right now they are.
What are you basing it on?
They're in the top 4. They're 4th.
They are tied for 4th with SMU. This is what I don't understand. You're saying they're 4th.
I think they're better than SMU.
But what are you basing that on?
They're 4th.
But so is SMU. Does anyone else think that this is a ridiculous conversation? Like
I'm sorry. I said you.
I genuinely,
I'm sorry.
Genuinely don't understand what you're talking about.
The 3 top tier team, the 3 best teams are the top 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's all I was saying.
Okay, they're the top 3 teams, and then the 4th best team is 2 teams. You're right. It's the top 5. You're right. You're right.
I don't know that we know who the next best team is.
Okay. I'm going to go bang my head off the wall a couple times.
SMU's net right now is 42.
All right, what's Wake's?
I'm trying to find Wake. Wake is 70.
Okay.
So according to the net, SMU is significantly better.
Why is everybody saying you want Steve to quit? I think Steve wants me to quit.
No, you say things that don't make sense. Like, that didn't make sense to me. I was just trying
I said the top 4 teams, and I took one of the top 4 teams to be the top 4. I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense to you.
All I was asking was what separates that. I didn't think we were going to be leading today with the difference between SMU and Wake Forest. I think SMU is really good.
Okay. Good.
I think Wake's pretty good, too. I don't know how you differentiate them right now. You seem to have this clear-cut, like...
I tend to think they're...
Okay. And they may be. We're going to find out in a couple of weeks when they play. All right, let's move off of this. I did not mean to upset you right out of the gate. I was just trying to understand where you were coming from. That's all. All right.
From now on, my tiers will only have 3 levels. All right. My tiers will only be in 3s. Okay, I'm sorry.
I just feel like the standings, there is a clear-cut break where the tier is. Like, it could be 3, it could be 5.
I said the 4 best teams, and I was going by because that's how the ACC does their buys, and the 4 top teams. Okay. I apologize, Steve.
No need to apologize. Just want to make sure we're on the same page. Let's take a quick time out here. We're going to regroup. We've got back-to-back interviews beginning with John Schmeelk. We're going to talk NFL on the other side with John. And we'll go from there, and everything will be fine. We'll regroup. All will be well.
You know, I need a hug. I need a hug from Stinky Bird right now.
She may need a hug from you as well. You guys need to make up after all those years. All right, we're going to talk NFL next on ESPN Radio.
Warner Sales and Service, Right Roofing, and Sweet on Chocolate are proud supporters of Syracuse basketball radio coverage on ESPN Radio Syracuse.
We'll never
on the pulse of the Orange. ESPN Radio 97.7 and 100.1.
Experience amazing at Burdick Lexus in Cicero. Stop in to see their full lineup of SUVs like the new 2025.
Yeah, Steve did keep going. Super Cat, what's up? Phil? Everybody, I'm reading your thing. I don't need a Snickers. I'm trying to get back in shape. You know what it might be is I am sore because I started throwing steel again. I don't cry. I do need a Rubby-Roo.
We just got a call out there on the station guest line that you used to call into radio shows, and the exact contents were the call were, I don't know how Steve deals with that asshole every day. He should be fired. And then he hung up.
Why am I the asshole? I said the top 4 teams.
We might need a new phone out there. I may or may not have thrown it.
Kill the mic for 1 second.
Why not throw him under the bus? Mario mispronounced a name yesterday and corrected Jordan incorrectly. Thank you.
Would it be rude to text him, hey, just to be a good pal for when you do like future stories this year? It actually is Dearna.
You can handle it however you would like.
Gaber, if you don't think I can handle people calling me stupid on Twitter and I was crying about bullying,
I tried to give you just an engaging
I embrace it.
And I was ready to go that way.
I am like
5 minutes in, and then he says something that like doesn't make sense, and I had to clarify.
It did make sense. I said
but
I
now
think
you
the
know
top
why
4.
I said what I said out there.
The way to handle that would have been, so Paul, why do you think Wake Forest is No, you didn't. You said, why are you giving 4 teams? Like you instead of just saying, so okay, I see what you're doing. You're doing the top 4 teams. Why do you think that?
Yeah, I threw our phone out there.
I said I feel like there's a clear cut 3. I said that. I said it in those not in those.
No, you kind of were an a-hole.
6 more weeks. Just like the phone part though, not the whole machine. Then it would have probably broken. No.
I'm like Emperor Palpatine. Like when people are mean to me, I grow stronger.
You're like the Michael Jordan of radio hosts, not skill level, but just you get more.
Get the fuck out of here.
Skill level. He's absorbing. But you're just more entertaining when you think people are mad at you or being rude, even though they're not. You wouldn't say that.
I grow more.
Did you hear Rick? He just said clearly has no skill.
Steve could have handled that so much better and just said, "Okay, you're going by the top 4 teams. Why do you think that is?" Instead of saying, "Neither one of those teams are the top 4."
No, that's fine. So he's been interviewing players and watching practices, and we can talk to him about the draft. Anything else? Should we talk? Is there anything interesting about the Knicks right now? I don't really pay attention.
Oh, it is. It's Flannel Friday, and I forgot to work. Who the hell got doxxed?
All right, we'll figure it out. Maybe down. Yeah. He got me a big rebound the other day. He got the double-double. He got a rebound with like a minute to go. I got his 10 the other day. I did that for something else. Yeah, it was like, I don't know if you're watching. It was an offensive rebound with like 45 seconds left in the game. I wasn't watching it at all. I saw it the next day. I'm like, hey, I watched.
Steve, people think someday we'll be singing this song to each other. Our artist of the day is Chicago. It's so funny to me that people like think we actually hate each other. Like we literally laugh at you people when we're when we're done. It was just it's a married couple thing. I was talking about the top 4. I didn't appreciate Steve dismissing Wake Forest. Because I've been told by multiple fans, Steve, that Wake Forest is what Syracuse should be able to turn it around in one day.
I think Wake is pretty good. I also think SMU is pretty good.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. That could have ended it.
It's over and done with. We've moved on.
Just said, how about we just have a tie for the 4th best team? So, Steve.
Well, you know what, Paulie? They are actually tied in the standings. That was my point. That was my point.
I don't know why Chicago is the artist of the day, but it's always good to hear Chicago. They're playing the Turning Stone pretty soon. I would go see them.
All right. Are you stalling because we don't have John yet? Or
no, there he is.
We do have John. Okay.
Yeah, I was killing time there.
Okay. I wasn't sure if where we were going with John, but we've got him now. John Schmeelk, our good friend from the Giants, joining us to talk some football. John, it's always great to chat with you. How are things?
Everything's good. Got home from Mobile in the Senior Bowl late last night, and I just got back into the office for like a short, quick day, and then we'll be ready to roll.
All right. Well, so that's where we want to go. We want to talk Shrine Bowl. We want to talk Senior Bowl. I know you've had a chance to watch practices from both. I guess let's start with just kind of a broad picture. Like, how do you assess practices at these things, right? Because everybody's good. It's like how do you kind of break it down?
Well, some players are better than others. That's for sure. The players at the Senior Bowl, of course, generally have a higher quality than the ones that are at Shrine. So, I think what you're looking for is traits, right? You're looking to see these guys up close. What traits do they have? What does it look like they can do? How do they do on one-on-ones, the offensive, defensive line, the wide receivers and the defensive backs? And how do they look in those one-on-ones? And who pops? Just from a physical perspective, a technique perspective. And, I think that's kind of what you're looking for as, you can watch the tape. You can see how they play on games when you watch them in college games. But, you really want to see their body type and how they move up close and in person. And to me, that's the thing you get out of this the most. All
right. How do you, assess quarterbacks? Because, we've seen over the course of, maybe 25 years, really, going back to Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning. And, drafting a quarterback in the first round is essentially a 50-50 proposition. 50% of the time, it works out really well. 50% of the time, it doesn't. There's a lot of pressure on GMs to pick their quarterback. So when you're looking at, we'll just take this year's class as an example. How do you differentiate, the top guys from, how do you differentiate, the second best quarterback in this draft class from the fifth?
Yeah, the only thing I get out of the All-Star game specifically is watch, and because I'm not seeing these guys in person. All the scouts and NFL evaluators are going to these games. They're seeing them up close in person anyway. But this is my first exposure to them in person. So, I want to see how the ball comes out of their hands, how it spins, how big they look, and things like that. But really, the quarterback evaluation has everything to do with how they do in games on tape during the year. And then for the teams, especially how they do in these meetings. What are their personalities like? Are they leaders? How do they do on the whiteboard with the coaches? How do they learn? Kind of all that stuff is so important for the quarterback position. And, I think when you look at separating the top of the guys from the guys later on, a lot of it is traits. And the more I've done this, guys, the more I've learned in talking to scouts and dealing with guys is that, a scout's job is to determine how good a player can be, in terms of, what they are and who they are. And then it's the coach's job to coach them up and make them the player that those traits say they can become. So I think a lot of the, things that separate the guys at the top of the draft with the rest is, the stuff that's innate, right? Stuff that can't be taught, arm strength, size, stature, how they move, how their mind works, how quickly they can get through reads, what their reactions are like, their instincts. Stuff like that is hard to teach. You can teach mechanics. You can teach footwork. You can teach release. That type of stuff you can teach, but there are things with a lot of these players that, you can go and be coached by the best people in the world and have the best technique, but if you just physically, aren't good enough to do it, that's not going to do you much good. So I think that does apply to the quarterback too. I think what makes it difficult with quarterbacks is that a lot of these college systems are so unlike what these guys are going to do in the pros, so it's almost like it's not watching a different game, but it's almost like them playing a different version of the game than what they're doing in the NFL. So judging how these guys are going to go from a completely different college system and with an ecosystem around them and how they're going to then play in the NFL, I think that's what makes it so tough.
This may be an unfair question to ask you. I apologize if I'm putting you on the spot, but I wanted to ask you about Kyle McCord because, we've seen him locally, came here to Syracuse after, being at Ohio State. He was a play away from going to the college football playoff at Ohio State, comes here, has a phenomenal year, leads the nation in passing. Going through, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I just said, he was great at Syracuse. He was phenomenal.
Had an awesome year and goes through the process. And, I'm seeing analysts that are putting him among the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in this class. So I don't know how much you've seen from him specifically or through this, week of practice at the Shrine Bowl, but, he made the all-practice team there, apparently opened up a lot of eyes. What are you hearing, if anything, about him specifically and about how his game might translate to the next level?
Yes, I was at 2 strong practices over the weekend, and he was the best quarterback there. So I'm not surprised he was on their all-practice team. He's big. He's got a big arm. He can move a little bit. He's got all the, we talked about traits with quarterbacks, right? He has all the traits you are looking for the quarterback position. Would it be surprised to me if he's one of the first 5 quarterbacks taken? Yes. No, it wouldn't be a total shock. It would shock me if he was one of the first 3 quarterbacks taken. So I think he's going to go anywhere from that 4 to 7 range, probably in this draft. Ranging anywhere from the end of the 3rd round to the beginning of day 3. I could see him sliding in somewhere there. But look, he's one of those guys that has the traits, right? So you get him with some good coaching, you hope they can turn him into something.
Based on what you saw at these practices from the 2 different bowl games, who are some of the other guys that really stood out to you and you're like, wow?
Any positions specifically you're interested in?
I mean, I guess quarterback in particular. I know that last year Malik Neighbors in particular, you were very high on, and so I guess maybe skill position players, wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs. I know LaQuinn Allen, another Cuse guy. I don't know how much he opened you up your eyes, but we've been hearing really good things about him this week. Who are some guys that really opened your eyes from a skill position perspective?
All right, I'm going to rapid fire through a couple skill guys, and then I'm going to give you some of the guys up front because I think that's where some of the stars were. I thought Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback from Oregon, was by far the best quarterback I saw, which is surprising because he's only 5'10", 202 pounds. Like, he is a small guy, but he threw the ball accurately and on time. Daxter Dart is probably the next best guy out of Ole Miss. Doesn't have the cannon, but the ball was accurate, and he put it into some small spots. Of the running backs, R.J. Harvey out of UCF is explosive, tries to bounce too many things, though. He needs to get more 30 yards. Marcus Yarns was the best 3rd down back there. Travis Etienne's brother, Trevor Etienne, looked okay out of Georgia. LaQuinn Allen, you guys at Syracuse, he actually caught the ball really well, which I thought was pretty good for him. For the receivers, both Iowa State wide receivers I thought looked good. J.D. Higgins and Jalen Noel. Kyle Williams out of Washington State looked pretty good. Tez Johnson out of Oregon, I thought was uncoverable for the better part of 2 days, but he's only 5'9", 156 pounds, so that'll be a challenge for him on the next level. And then some of the guys up front, man, if you want to look at some of the defensive tackles, Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss, he's probably going to be a first-round pick. T.J. Sanders had a couple of moments. Small school guy Darius Alexander out of Toledo, I thought had a nice couple of days. And then some of the pass rushers, Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College, a Northeast guy. He was really good all week. Mike Green, they were 1 and 2 in the FCS in sacks. I think Ezeraku had 16.5 and Green at 17. They were probably the 2 best edge rushers there, and they were so good they both left early. Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M, I thought he had a good couple of days of practice as well. So those, I think, were some of the guys that were pass rushers. And then you have some good offensive linemen. Grace Abel out of North Dakota State in the middle of the offensive line. He was a tackle in college, but he went to guard. I thought Josh Connolly did a pretty nice job at offensive tackle, despite that one viral clip that went over the internet when Mike Green kind of trucked a little bit. Ariante Ursary out of Minnesota, I thought, had some good reps. And then there were some small school guys, too, that I thought did a pretty nice job. So I think the strength of this class, guys, is on the defensive line, on the defensive front. You're going to see probably more people from those 2 spots in the first 50 picks of this draft than probably any other spot. So that's where I think the strength of this draft class is. Unlike last year when you had, receivers, offensive tackles, cornerbacks. This is going to be a big defensive front type of draft.
All right, I know there's a lot of time between now and the actual draft at the end of April, but the Giants hold the number 3 overall pick. At this point, do you have a feel for how that would play out? Obviously, some of it depends on what the Browns and Titans do ahead of them. Who do you expect them to get at number 3 at this point?
All right, well, I'm going to act like the Giants are picking first, right? Because I don't know what the Titans and Browns are going to do at this point. So I'm just going to act like the Giants have the pick of the winner, right? So I think it's going to come down to 4 players. I think you're looking at either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter as the non-quarterbacks. I think those are the 2 elite position players in this draft class. And then I think the 2 quarterbacks are Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. They have not been in front of Cam Ward a ton yet because he wasn't at any of these all-star games. Shedeur Sanders, they spent time with him at Shrine this weekend. I don't know which one of those guys they like better. I think they want to draft a quarterback in the draft. I think whether or not they pick one at 3 has a lot to do with what they do in free agency. at the quarterback position, so that'll be important to watch in the middle of March. If they get a guy that they feel good about starting, that they think can win some games, and maybe they don't feel the need to force the pick at 3. Because, look, when they get to the end of this, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are going to have higher grades than Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. I can say that with no one's told me this, but I say that just from my observation with a high level of confidence. So the Giants are going to have to decide whether or not one of these quarterbacks is worth passing over a higher graded player. By the way, 2 really important positions, pass rusher and quarterback wide receiver. Those are premium spots too. So I think that's what they're looking at. I do think if one of the quarterbacks is there, if I had to guess now without knowing what they're doing in free agency, I think they'd probably go in that direction.
Is there a certain player or two that you would have your eye on in free agency as the quarterback, either the quarterback of the future or a bridge quarterback that would bridge the gap for a couple years?
Yeah, I don't think there's a quarterback of the future. The only guy I would point to is Sam Darnold, and he's been through the ringer in New York, and I think he'd be too expensive for what the Giants would want to spend at the quarterback position. So, and then if you look at the veterans, I think Justin Fields is a guy you could throw a dart at. Can Brian Dable get him going in the right direction? You want to go real veterans, Russell Wilson's going to be a free agent. Is that someone you think can play and win games for you over a couple of seasons? Do the Steelers want him back? Do the Raiders want him? He's been connected to the Raiders a lot. Now with Pete Carroll going there, right? So I think those are 2 names that I'd look at. My cohort here, Paul Bettino, was on the Jimmy Garoppolo bandwagon. I just worry about his health a lot. He'll be a lot cheaper, which will be nice. But it's not a great quarterback for agency class. Keep an eye on the Saints with what they might do with Derek Carr. Keep an eye on the Falcons, what they might do with Kirk Cousins. And I think those are the big names I think you take a look at in free agency.
All right. John, great stuff as always. We love having you on. Thanks for the time. Glad you're back. And we'll talk again soon as the draft approaches.
I appreciate it, guys. Always here for you.
All right. John Schmeelk joining us here on the show. We'll hit a timeout. And we've got John O'Dearna standing by, defensive coordinator for SU men's lacrosse.
You all right?
Why am I okay? What
you got a double interview.
Oh, yeah, I'm okay.
Your voice.
Are you okay?
You're coming off a sickness.
I am coming off.
I'm well rested. I just need to know if your voice
Yes, I'm okay. As long as everybody can put up with me sounding like this, yes, my voice is okay. I will survive. John O'Dearna joins us next on ESPN Radio.
I guarantee you Steve did not read your question and then ask it.
What? What was the question?
Yeah, so you clearly did not do it off of reading it out of the chat.
I did not read the chat. What was the question in the chat?
No, because CBW is crediting you for asking a question that was obvious to ask.
Oh. Well, you're welcome, CBW.
I mean, he did read it, right? I mean, poll complete. Paulie is Emperor Palpatine. Thank you. Thank you all for agreeing with me. Let the hate flow through you, Steve. So I'm Palpatine, you're C-3PO. We have our two Star Wars characters down. What do you think Brian Higgins is of Star Wars? Is he Luke Skywalker? What's Jordan? R2-D2? I think Jordan's R2-D2.
What? Like, why? I don't understand the exercise. Based on what? Like, what do you? Why is he R2? I know why I'm C-3PO.
Because he's a little thing that goes boop, 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 bothering everybody all the time. I like it. Jordan's Chewbacca? Jordan's Yoda? Brian is Jar Jar? Ouch. Why can't you just play along instead of questioning everything? Like everybody in the chat just. See, this is exactly what you did with the 4 spot. You could have just said, okay. Instead, you got to just question everything instead of just.
Because I want to play along.
Just do it then. Go. You know what? No, I think Jordan's blank.
But I want to know why I'm saying it. I want to have a reason. So I want to understand your reasoning so I can play along.
Because R2-D2's
okay.
Little side.
That's all you had to say.
Blooping and bleeping.
That's all you had to say.
Just answer.
I wanted to offer a good suggestion.
Jordan is an Ewok. He's little and lovable. That's adorable. I could see that. He's Wicket. Yeah, Steve, you say someone is, and then you give your reason. You don't question other people. That's a good point. Thank you. Thank you, Mikey P, for finally catching on to what is bothering me today. Jordan could also be Bib Fortuna, the guy who answers the door at Jabba's palace. Oh, get the hell out of here, T-Takes. With that. I'm Palpatine. It's been voted on. Thank you. And it was, I have a mandate that I'm Palpatine, too, by that vote. Yeah, Steve needs to rationalize everything. It's got to be very difficult to go through. Steve just can't say something stupid and leave it in the universe like I do. He's just got to. It's got to have an absolute reason for. I'm a Gamorrean guard. Okay, I can see that. Have you ever even seen a Star Wars movie?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the one time he did say something and just threw it out there was Canadian Christmas. That is correct.
I did. That was stupid.
Oh, you're talking about producer Paul, the guy who can't tie his shoes? Yes, he's definitely Jar Jar Binks.
I've seen the 3 original Star Wars movies, and I like them a lot. But then, I grew up, and I never watched more after that.
Who said that? Phil 0214. I'm going to give you credit when we come back from the break.
What?
You finally realize, you just need rationalization of everything that's said. And, you couldn't just let, I think the 4 best teams are this, and let it go. You need a breakdown. Welcome back to Orange Nation. Our artist of the day is Chicago. 25 or 624. Steve, Phil in our chat just came across something. So we argued in our first segment about me saying I think the 4th best team is Wake Forest. And then during this break in the commercials, I was doing Star Wars characters for everybody on our show. And you know what it is? He nailed it perfectly. You can't just say something without having a complete rationalization for it 100%. When I said Wake Forest was the 4th best team, we could have just ended it there and moved on to...
I want to know why you think that.
Yeah. Okay, it was just my opinion.
Okay.
And now I said... I think Jordan is R2-D2, and you just couldn't let it go. And, Paulie thinks Jordan's R2-D2.
But I want to know why.
Why couldn't you say, oh, really? I think he's blank, or I agree with you.
But I wanted to know why.
I really don't think that much about why Jordan is R2-D2.
Okay.
I didn't really break it down in my head. I didn't blueprint it. I'm sorry.
Well, I wanted to play along, and I wanted to understand why he was R2-D2 so that I could... provide something intelligent to the conversation.
How do you have anything? There's nothing intelligent about discussing what Star Wars character someone on our show is. You just say the stupid thing and let it fly.
Okay.
Have fun. How do you have any fun?
I don't want to keep our nice guest waiting. And we've already made him wait long enough. John O'Dearna joining us here. I apologize for putting you through that, John. Great to chat with you. I guess let's just start with the overall excitement that there must be, leading into, there's great expectations with his team. We'll get into that in a second. But how excited are you and the players just to get back on the field tomorrow and play a game that counts?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. Enjoyed the Star Wars talk between the breaks there. So learned a few things. Let's go Chewbacca. A little bit big, a little awkward. We'll ride with that.
Very good.
He's got a rationalization for it. That's all I was asking. Okay. Thank you, Coach, for playing along.
Yeah, no problem. The excitement is off the charts. Obviously, last time we got to play in a game that counted, we didn't feel like we put our best foot forward. And I know it's something we've talked about a lot, left all of us with a bad taste in our mouth. So we're excited. I think the first game of the year always has a little bit of juice, but I would say we're even more excited than we were this time last year.
All right, let's talk about the expectations because you know you can't get away from it. I know you probably want the players to have blinders on and not hear the noise, but ranked number 2 in the preseason poll and loaded with All Americans. That list came out yesterday and Inside Lacrosse. It's a lot of expectations, a lot of excitement with fans. I would assume that you embrace it, but does some pressure come with that? That it's I heard Joey Spallina say the other day that there are no more excuses. We used to be young, we're not young anymore. We had some injuries, we're healthy right now. There are no more excuses. This is the year. Does some pressure come with that, Coach?
Absolutely. I think you come to a place like Syracuse for that pressure and for the expectations. I think pressure is a privilege. The expectations in terms of being number 2 in the preseason, that doesn't mean anything. That's a hypothetical ranking based on projections. We've now got to go out and prove that we are worthy of what some people think of us. And obviously our goal is to be number 1 at the end of the year. So certainly the expectations are an element here, and it's just exciting. It's the same reason why Syracuse is the best place to be. Nobody's talking about lacrosse more than the people in Syracuse and our fans. And I think that makes this place a super unique opportunity. And that's exactly it. Pressure is it's an opportunity for us to go prove to ourselves what we've been working on for the past, 6 or so months.
It's easy for the casual fan to get excited about the offense. We mentioned, Joey Spallina and Owen Hiltz, and there's recognizable names, Finn Thompson, there's recognizable names on that side of the ball, and, a lot of production back. How about on defense? Sometimes they're the unsung heroes, right? And I saw Billy Dwan yesterday named a second-team All-American. Riley Figueres mentioned in there as well with All-American honors. I guess let's start with those two guys, what they bring to the table for your group.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think offense definitely gets people on their feet. I would argue Billy Dwan is probably one of the most exciting players in college lacrosse. He had 8 or 9 goals last year, which I have to think led the country for goals as a close defenseman. He does some insane things on both ends of the field. So, I think if you're a defensive enthusiast, but you want a little bit more excitement, Billy Dwan's definitely a great guy to look at. In terms of the elements they bring, and I'll get to Riley in a second, but, Billy's obviously a great leader. He's a captain this year. Not afraid we talk a lot about being respected versus liked. I think he does a good job with both, but does a great job of giving feedback to his teammates and looking at himself in the mirror a lot and making sure that he's setting the standard for what he wants our group to be defensively. He's basically like having a coach on the field. And Riley, I think for our defensive purists, I think Riley's a guy that you might not notice throughout the course of the game, and that's a good thing. Usually he's covering the other team's top offensive weapon. I think Riley is one of the most underappreciated players in the country. He had some tall assignments last year, having to defend, Pat Cavanaugh, a guy that was averaging 9 points a game against us in his career. He had 2 points against us last year in the game, and neither came with Riley guarding him. So I think Riley is a guy that has a huge future here, and I'm really excited and grateful to have the opportunity to coach him for another few years. He's just so solid. You kind of look and you're like, man, I kind of forgot he was out there, because he's just always in the right spot, doing the right thing, and normally he makes their top guy disappear for the most part.
All right, so outside of those two guys, who are some other players that we should be looking out for from a defensive perspective and on that side of the field?
Sure. We talk a lot about being a positionless defense. We want to be, we want the sum of our parts to be greater than any individual brings to the table. So other guys that I think have had great preseasons, falls, Michael Grace is a guy that's getting a lot of pub right now. He's the RIT transfer, a guy with championship pedigree, great experience, also has played for Team Canada. Great guy to look out for. Caden Cole obviously has logged some good miles for us over the past few years. He'll contribute. Nick Kakemo, he's another guy that has a lot of experience, and we're going to lean on that experience. We're a little bit young. At the long stick midi position, so we're looking to fill some experience there. Dylan Seguider, another guy who he was on our junkyard dog unit last year, and played a lot the year before. Chuck Kaczynski is another guy that's in the mix. He's not a well-known name. He's kind of been out the last 2 years with injuries. But a guy that brings a lot to the table, has some elements Sam Alexo to his game. He plays angry. And then our short stick D-midi group should be some household names. Carter Rice is another guy that I think is extremely underappreciated. Is as athletic as anybody, has come a really long way. I think he's going to turn some heads this year with just how damn good that kid is. Nate Levine, great kid, a guy that was on the scout team last year and became a starter. Great story at D-mid. Ryder Ochoa, St. John's transfer. Jake Spallina. We got a great unit. Again, we're not about any one guy. We want our 7 to beat their 6 is how we look at it.
Gary Gate confirmed yesterday he has decided on who the starting goalie is. He didn't want to make it public. Totally understand that. Not going to ask you about that. But he spoke about how it's a luxury to have a couple of guys that you feel comfortable with, regardless of who gets the start. The fact that you've got depth at that position. Can you speak to that, Coach, about it's not just one guy that you have to ride. If there's injury or if somebody's having a bad game, there are options there. How much does that help a team going into a season knowing that? It's not like you just have one quarterback, right? You've got some depth there that if the starter goes down or is having a rough time, you could go to somebody else.
Yeah, I appreciate you not asking the question straight up. I was prepared to dodge that one. But speaking about the group as a whole, I think we have probably one of the best goalie rooms in the country, top to bottom. I think we'd feel comfortable with all 4 guys stepping in a game and playing. Between Jimmy McCool, Michael Ippoliti, Kyle Rowley, and Braden Ferguson. It's a really cool unit. And to hit on what you said, I think that there's so much talent and those guys approach every day the right way. They're sort of just increasing the level of play every time they get out there. And, one day it's Michael Ippoliti's making all the saves, and then it might be Jimmy McCool the next day, and then Kyle Rowley's making all the saves, or Ferg is making great saves. So I think it even goes drill to drill, and it's, it's an iron sharpens iron situation. And the best part is, it's probably one of the hardest positions because there's only one goal. So those guys are all great teammates to each other, and that's what allows that group to continue to work forward. And I'm confident that, whoever's between the pipes in any game this year is going to be a huge asset for our defense and is going to be an X factor for us.
Speaking of great goalies, you're going up against one tomorrow in John Galloway, head coach of Jacksonville and an all-time great at Syracuse. Curious, Coach, I don't know how much, if at all, your paths crossed at all back in the day, because I think you guys were in high school at the same time, right? So, he was at West Genesee, you were on Long Island. You played in college at the same time. I know that, you're a Gettysburg guy and he came to Cuse. Did your playing careers cross at all back in the day?
Great question. Obviously, I have so much respect for John Galloway, and he's a legend around these parts and has done a great job in coaching. The only, if I'm being totally honest, the only real crossover I ever had, I was always super aware of him because one of my best friends growing up was a goalie named Adam Gittleman, who ended up going to Virginia and still plays in the PLL. And we were always super aware, we were like, well, our buddy's the best goalie in the country. And then we always heard about the Galloway guy from Syracuse, who everybody thought was also the best goalie in the country. So I've been familiar with John Galloway since I'm in ninth grade, but only from hearsay. But sure. Obviously, having coached the past 14 or so years, we've crossed paths a ton. He's a great guy. And I have a mountain of respect, especially being a guy that coached at the mid-major, a mountain of respect for what he's been able to accomplish at Jacksonville over the years. And I'm sure he'll continue to do great things there.
Yeah, certainly an all-time great in this program. All-time great guy, too. We got to know, I covered him at West Genesee. I've known him for many years. Just a really nice young man and doing great things with that program. And that brings us kind of full circle to this matchup, Coach. Last question, what does tomorrow's game kind of come down to for you guys? A lot of unknown, right? For them, for you, it's the first one. What does this game come down to tomorrow?
Yeah, I agree. The first game always is an interesting dynamic. Obviously, everything's on the table. So I think, what we do know about them is they return a lot offensively. They were the number 8 scoring offense in the country last year, 13th in offensive efficiency, and a top 5 man-up unit. So I think what we can definitely from our end of the field say is they're going to be potent offensively, and we need to do our jobs and make sure that we're connected and ready for anything, as we said, with it being the first game of the year. So they're going to pose a great challenge. They've got some really, really, really talented and athletic players offensively. And I think everyone's going to come out with their hair on fire, especially with the Galloway homecoming. But I think the first game of the year brings that out of everybody. And I have a feeling we're going to blink, and it's going to be halfway through the second quarter. And where did that time go? So I think we're all really excited. We know we have a huge responsibility to represent this program both now and the history the right way. And I think we can't wait till the whistle blows at 12:02 p.m. tomorrow.
Listen, we always love having you on. You always give insightful answers, including your Star Wars take. So we appreciate that. We love having you on, Coach. Best of luck. We're all excited for the season to start. Good luck tomorrow, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Awesome. I really appreciate you guys.
All right, Coach O'Durna joining us here on the program, and we're going to take a timeout. We're going to open up the phone lines, 315-437-7644. Again, Cuse Jacksonville tomorrow at noon as the new season gets underway. We'll take a timeout. We'll wrap up the first hour next on ESPN Radio.
Was that your way of apologizing for me asking a Star Wars question at the beginning? Yeah. You're so embarrassed of me. You just get to predict. You make whatever random line you want it to be. That's whatever you want it to be. It is. D. Hayes asking questions I can Google. Don't break that computer. I won't. It would have been just as easy to type that into Google. Is the Lax game on TV? I'm using it right now. The new chat app we got. And I'm harassing our listeners. Brian, show you that magic? Mm-hmm. It's wonderful. Yeah, we finally got the new computer, Phil. I'm playing, and there's a new game in this show. You guys got to get used to it. Things I could Google. That was a Jordan get, not a Paulie get. I'm going to get a soda. Be right back. Your computer's coming unplugged. It's probably from I nearly fell and broke my neck on it. I am the kind of guy that spends $5 on a soda in the vending machine because I am rich as fuck. Yeah, I get paid to talk about Syracuse basketball, but you get to just type about it and not get paid. Yeah. This is the most expensive kind. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. I'm making funny money. I think it's $2.50 for the soda. Yeah, I can Google stuff fast now. It's just funny to me that you type a question into the chat for us to answer when you could have typed it into Google. What did they rat out about me?
I just got to...
Oh, because I buy... is that an insult? Oh, Paulie buys vending machine sodas. Oh, they got me. Is that what's passing for comedy on the old K-Rock nowadays? That Paulie spends money on soda from the machine? Welcome back to Orange Nation. Hard habit to break, Steve. Do you know that we have a pair of tickets right now, Steve, to the Wildcat Sports Pub CNY Brewfest?
Oh, yeah? Tell me more.
Man, Chicago is really good. Caller number 5. 315-437-7644. You're going to the Wildcat Sports Pub CNY Brewfest, presented by Sweetgrass. If you don't win, you can get your tickets online at cnybrewfest.com and all of your information. We are way behind today.
I mean, not way behind. We'll get back on time.
Yeah,
Short segment here. We'll get right back on time. It'll all be good. It'll all be good.
Hey,
I just got an email in my inbox. Literally came in as we were talking. It says the headline is "Ignore the Trolls in 2025." That's just the headline.
okay.
So it's great advice, Paulie. Ignore the trolls in 2025.
I kind of feed the trolls.
You do.
I tend to feed
You can't
them.
get enough. It's a hard habit to break.
Yes, it is.
You can't get enough.
I don't want the poor little trolls to die of starvation. I got to feed them. I barf right into their mouth like a mama bird.
That's a great image. Thank you for that.
I'm a mama bird, and the trolls are the baby birds. And I just right in their mouths. Keep them well fed.
Okay, so we are going to get back on time here. We went a little long with our Star Wars conversation, and then John O'Dearna in the last segment. We're going to talk basketball in the next segment. We've got Jeff Faraudo. He's the co-publisher of Cal Bear on SI. We'll talk about the Cal Bears, SU's next opponent. Then we've got Match Game. We've got Today's Business. We'll take your calls in the next hour as well.
Why did it say, Steve, avoid the trolls?
I don't know. I didn't read the email.
Well,
it was just,
read it. Open it.
It was just
Find
like
out.
It was
Tell
just
me
like
why.
it was just like a national.
Explain to me why.
Because it's good advice. I don't know. It is good. You're trying to be me.
Don't just
You're
say
trolling
things
me now. I need to avoid you.
Don't just say things without an explanation. All right.
I was listen. Last word on this. Just stop. Last word on this.
You can't let it go.
I can't let it go because you act like I'm being crazy here. You acted as though Wake Forest, of course, was in the top 4, and I was wondering why you
you
thought that. So I want to know why. That's all.
Because I think they're better than SMU.
Right, but they've got the same record in conference. I don't know. I just want to know why you differentiated how you differentiate between the two to the point where you put one in a higher tier. That's
Someone
all.
asked a good question in the chat earlier. Do you do the same thing to Kim? Like, do you say why and make her explain her answers to you, or are you scared?
I don't know.
Let's get her on the phone.
I've never thought about it. Like I'm really not trying to be difficult. I just wanted to know why. That's all.
Gaper Bazingoid says, I see every day why you're a single old man, Paulie. Yeah, I do too. I look in the mirror. I see this ugly little face looking back at me. Yeah, we're still going. Let's take a time out. We'll come back and we'll discuss Cal Bears.
Yes, we will. We'll do that on the other side. Hour number 2 kicks off next on ESPN Radio.
Only 10 more games to the torture. If watching basketball games is torture to you, you wouldn't survive waterboarding, that's for sure. Tronic says I should just end every sentence with, and I base that on nothing. That is funny. No, we're going to do, I think we're going to do the 64 most delicious mascots in college sports. I think that's going to be it.
What's a delicious mascot?
Well, if you could eat them. Like an orange would be delicious, right?
Yeah, how many of those are there?
The Hokies, there's a turkey. That would be delicious.
Okay. That's going to be hard to come up with 64, don't you think?
Yeah, maybe some aren't delicious. Like a wolf pack would not be.
I feel like who would win in a fight? We could debate that.
No, most delicious.
Like who's the most powerful mascot?
Delicious. You're ruining. You cannot have fun. Why can't
Why
you
is
just
that
have
fun?
fun?
This is what I don't understand. Why is that fun?
Because it's different. It's not what everybody else on the face of the earth would do. We're going to do the most delicious.
Different doesn't mean it's fun.
Yes, it does. Everybody's done toughest mascots. You don't have to come up. You don't have to come up with them. I do.
Okay.
Just have fun.
Okay.
If I say the Oxford Seals versus the Orange, you'll be like, Seal's probably really fishy. I don't like it. Move on. Never been done before.
Never been done before. So you just want to do things that have never been done before. That doesn't make it fun.
It just makes it fun.
It just makes it different.
It makes it fun. Yes, different is fun. Canadian Seagull. Delicious. You created the list yesterday. We could Google it. Did you steal my idea? I will fight you. You don't want to feel the wrath of Palpatine if you stole my idea. The Shockers? You wouldn't want to eat that. You gonna ask me why, Steve?
I can't. I can't.
Come on, ask me why you wouldn't want to eat the Shockers.
What is it? What is a shocker?
Okay, I'm done. I apologize.
Should I know what a shocker is? What?
I can't corrupt him. Don't ask that, Steve. Okay.
What am I missing? It's slang for something?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, my God. It just means tickle somebody. You are, Steve, you are the most wholesome person I know.
Can you just tell me what it means?
You all right? I had to tell him, guys. Your halo is showing. Tell him to Google it. Well, welcome back to Orange Nation. Our artist of the day, Chicago. Hard to say I'm sorry. Steve, I'm sorry for what just happened during that commercial break. You had to know. You have to know everything. You couldn't just let it be. Hard habit to break, Chicago. Let's find out about the Cal Bears.
Yes, let's talk some basketball as we bring on our next guest, Jeff Faraudo. He's the co-publisher of Cal Bear on SI to talk about the Cal Bears. Jeff, thanks so much for coming on today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing all right. So, we've got two teams on Saturday that are going to be in desperate need of a win. Q sitting at 3 games below 500. Cal 1 game above 500 at this point, 11-10. 1 game ahead of Syracuse in the ACC standings at 4-6 overall. Take us through the first 21 games of this season. With a broad stroke here with the Cal Bears. If people haven't been following these guys, what's been kind of the story of their season to this point?
Well, Mark Madsen, in his second year as coach, sort of restarted the whole program. He brought in all new guys this year. And Andrei Stojakovic, who's a transfer from Stanford, has played great. He was leading the conference in scoring briefly. But he's missed the last 3 games with injury. He's got a hip problem. And then on Wednesday, they didn't have their starting center, Matty Sissoko, who's been playing great lately. I think the last 4 games averaging about 11.5 and 9 rebounds. And he's out with concussion protocol. He could be back Saturday. I don't know about Stojakovic, the hip thing. Cal's kind of struggled to shoot the ball consistently. They haven't played great defense. They've rebounded really well until the other day in the SMU game when they didn't have Sissoko and they got kind of hammered on the boards. They also lost early in the season for the season a starting forward, B.J. Omot, who was averaging about 11 points a game. And so, they're a work in progress. They play really hard. And like I said, they rebound. But they got some flaws too. They don't have a lot of depth at point guard. And they've got a freshman who's been playing great, Wilkinson rather. So, the one thing we know we're going to see from them is they're going to play hard. And then if they play well, that's the question.
You mentioned that Sissoko may be back from the concussion protocol for this game. How does the team change with him on the court opposed to him not being on the court?
Well, they've got a big man, Lee Dort. Sissoko's just more experienced. He's a better defensive player, better rebounder. He's real physical. Like I said, the last 4 games he's played really well, but he is their top rebounder. I think it changes their team. He makes a difference for them, more so than I expected when they landed him. He came from Michigan State, where he was like a 5 points, 4 rebounds kind of guy. But he's averaged 7.5 and 7.5 for Cal for the season. He's been important. So we don't know if he's coming back, but I'm just taking a guess there's a shot at it.
We were just talking about with the Stanford game. Syracuse played Stanford, of course, on Wednesday, and we were talking about the having to go out west and how much that favors the opponent. And I'm sure that when Cal and Stanford are traveling east, it favors the the East Coast team. Stanford had yet to lose a game. I believe they've yet to lose a game this season against a team from a different time zone. And I know that Cal's had a lot of success as well. I think the one team that they lost to at home from the East Coast was NC State, if I'm not mistaken. Can you speak to that home court advantage and what that means for Cal and Stanford and now in this new conference, how you've kind of seen it play out on the court this year?
Well, I think it does favor them when they're at home. But the important thing to remember, a coach came through a couple weeks ago. I can't remember which one it was. And he was kind of grousing about the new travel in the ACC having to come all the way across the country. And then somebody pointed out to him that he has to do it once.
Sure. And
Stanford and Cal are doing it 4 times each. Plus, they had a trip this week to Dallas for SMU. So, it's a pain for everybody, and it's exhausting. It's a long trip, and, I think Cal and Stanford are trying to figure out how to make it work. They take charters, and so that helps a little bit. But Cal had a charter that had a delay on the way home recently, about 3 hours for some sort of a staff problem. And they ended up getting home at 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning anyway. And so, it's going to be a problem as long as this is the arrangement. And as much as it's a problem for the East Coast teams, it's a much bigger deal for the two Bay Area schools.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was why I was bringing it up. I know it goes both ways. And I guess, you've experienced it firsthand, and you see it firsthand night in and night out. We just got a taste of it on Wednesday, kind of what it looks like. And I don't think it was a coincidence. Syracuse has struggled with slow starts, but, they fell behind 25-2. And I would have to imagine that factored into it to some degree. Do you find that when Cal is coming east, how does that issue rear its ugly head? Is it slow starts? Is it, lack of energy, or, I don't want to say lack of effort, because I know guys are always trying, but, can you tangibly see it, I guess, on the court, whether it's the opponent coming west or, your Cal Bears coming east? How does it kind of look during the game? Can you see the fatigue, I guess, in the players during a game?
Well, they've only had one game all year where Madsen thought their effort was poor. So that's not been the issue. The issue has been shooting, and he says that, they've coming up short on their shots on their last road trip. He says, I got to figure this out. We got to figure out how we maybe have shorter practices or shorter walkthroughs, or, he's just, kind of trying to grab at different ideas to see if they can fix it. That's been a problem for them. They haven't shot the ball consistently well all year, but on the road it's been a little bit worse. And so I think, that's how it's manifested itself with them. And I can't speak for Stanford, but I just know that they're not quite the same team after traveling for 5.5 hours, and the 3 time zones. And that makes sense. And it's the same thing. I'm sure that Syracuse was impacted by it the other day at Stanford. It's not like Stanford's a big home court advantage.
Right.
I mean, they got the worst attendance in the conference. Cal's next worst, but Cal's actually better than it was a couple years ago when the program was abysmal. They went 3-27 the year before Madsen took over, and people had stopped caring at that point. But you go to Stanford and you're playing in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people, and so how they play is on them, not on the crowd.
Sure, yeah, and I think we saw that. And to their credit, Syracuse did show some fight and come back, but you can't dig yourself a 23-point deficit and expect to win. They ended up losing by 9, and again, they go into this game. There is a sense of urgency with Syracuse, no doubt. Do you feel as though there's a sense of urgency right now with Cal, given where they are in the standings and trying to scratch and claw for anything that they can gain in this conference? Is this a pivotal time, I guess, for this team?
Well, you talk to a coach, they're going to say every game is pivotal. And, I think they are trying to make headway. I don't think they're happy with their season. There's reasons why they haven't been better than they are, and the injuries, as I mentioned, are a little part of that. If they were to be at full strength, I think they'd be a somewhat different team. And as a result of the injuries and the fact that they've got so many new players, they haven't really been able to settle on the same starting lineup all the time. And they've got guys who contribute and play hard. I think they're determined to be better than they are. And, this is an opportunity for Cal to win. I think Syracuse only won one road game all year.
Yep, that's right.
Cal's 9-3 at home, so they played pretty well at home. So we'll see. I think they'll come out looking like a team that really wants to win. It's just a question of whether they play well.
Yeah, it's funny. I see some comments in our chat section while we're doing the show about it. Almost sounds like you're describing Syracuse, and in some ways it does, right? With they're not happy with where they are. They've been suffered through some injuries. They haven't been whole. They're probably better than their record would indicate. All of that kind of stuff. When you look at Syracuse getting ready for this to call this game, what stands out to you? They've obviously, they went 7 games without J.J. Starling. Now Donnie Freeman's been out. They've had some hiccups along the way, and certainly not living up to the standard that SU fans expect year in and year out. What stands out to you about this Syracuse squad that you're going to see tomorrow?
Well, the little amount I've looked at them, Starling is the guy who obviously can score a lot of points, but he hasn't shot the ball well lately. I think he's had one good shooting game in his last 4. He was 3 for 16 at Stanford. And I think I looked it up, the last 5 games shooting about 36% from the field. Obviously, he's going to have to be better than that for them to win. And he very well could be. Cal's going to have to rebound the ball against them. If they can do that, it looks like Syracuse pretty decent rebounding team. Both teams shoot the ball poorly. Both of them defend the shot poorly. Both of them seem to have some turnover issues. Cal turnover issues have been kind of sporadic. At times they look really good, controlling the ball. Other times they give it up too much. So, yeah, I think those are keys for Cal.
All right. And along those lines, I was going to ask you my last question just in terms of how you expect this game to play itself out and from a Cal perspective, what they need to do well to win. I know you touched on it just there, but, how do you expect this game to play itself out tomorrow night?
Well, some of that depends on who's playing for Cal. Again, I'll be a little surprised if Stojakovic plays, and I won't be surprised if Sissoko is back. I barely mentioned Jeremiah Wilkinson, the freshman for Cal. He's been really good. He had 30 points in their overtime win against Miami, and he's averaging like 13 a game. At one point, he was the leading scorer in the nation among freshmen who had never started a game, which is a strange little category. But he's now started the past 3 games, I guess. And he's left-handed. He goes to his left hard. Opponents haven't seemed to figure that out. But you'll watch, they'll clear out a little bit in the lane. He'll make a fake to the right and then go to the left. And he's only 6'1", but he's very strong and he's very athletic and quick. He's sort of a streaky shooter, but going to the basket, he's very good. And I think they have high hopes for him. When he plays well, they're obviously a different team. And when they've had him and Stojakovic on the court together, now they've got 2 legitimate scoring threats. The other guards, in particular, the point guard, Jovan Blackshear Jr., has just not shot the ball well. He's really small. He's 5'11", and when he doesn't shoot the ball well, he sometimes continues to shoot it too much. And that's a problem for him. He's really their only true point guard, and so they've sort of had to live with that. When he's shooting it well, then all of a sudden they're a little bit different. But he's about 34% for the season, so it's not something they can count on.
All right, Jeff, great stuff. We appreciate the insight. Thanks so much for coming on.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
All right, you as well. As Jeff Faraudo joins us here on the show, Cal getting set to open up a 3-game homestand. They've got Syracuse tomorrow. They've got NC State on Wednesday, and then the 4th best team in the ACC, Wake Forest, will go out to Berkeley next Saturday. We'll take a time out here on the show. 315-437-7644.
Somebody took his a-hole pills today, I see.
Just poking the bear, Paulie, that's all. Phone lines open the rest of the way. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.
Dagger. I'm over here celebrating the Padres, celebrating Michael King, and you rained on my parade. I am sorry I had to teach you an Urban Dictionary slang, Steve.
I had never heard that.
How?
I don't know.
Somebody in the chat said that's what a trauma-free life looks like, is Stephen Fonte. I guess if you grew up...
I'm glad that I was sheltered from that.
I am just wondering if I had collected rocks. By the way, I Googled stinky bird yesterday on Urban Dictionary. Yeah. You don't want to look that one up either. You should teach Steve the Urban Dictionary of stinky bird. Yes, West Hill. Why? Are you trying to dox me or something, Gaper? Go to confession, Steve. Go to confession for what I said. You never heard it before either, Phil? Wow. Yeah, Steve just went to take a bird bath. No, I'm joking. I don't think I grew up in a tough neighborhood or anything. Shocker, could have been in the you Googled that. You could have Googled that segment. I don't want him doing that on his work computer. I didn't want him going to like News Channel 9 and asking, hey, what? Paulie kept saying this word.
Yes, thank you.
Don't use those sinks after Steve's bird bath? Okay. No, we're good. I don't drink. Random line. I'm just going to keep saying random line, too. The things you learn during commercial breaks on Orange Nation are valuable life lessons. Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah. We need that more you know graphic from you remember on NBC?
Oh, yeah.
To fly up when I teach Steve something inappropriate. Flies across the screen.
I didn't need to know that, though. I feel like the more you know, like a lot of those are good things to know, or like they're beneficial to your life in some way. Not sure that one. I'm not sure there's any benefit to that one.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I took a job without realizing the corruption that my co-host would pour down on me, and secretly I'm beginning to want to fit in and enjoy the fun at work. It's been 12 hours since I last confessed. No, we're going to do a match game. Settle down. We've had guests. If you listened at the opening of the show, we said the match game. Would you like a weather forecast coming up, Kevin? Because I can lead with the weather coming out of the break.
Weather on the ones?
How do I lose my rundown every day? There it is.
We did not start with what Jordan wanted us to start with.
No, we didn't.
We could talk about it here if we're buying time until he comes in here.
No, we got the match game.
I know, but he's not here.
It's not that hard. He'll be here. How long have you been doing this show? Jordan has never missed a segment. He's a professional. Welcome back to Orange Nation, Artist of the Day, Chicago. Make me smile. Weather, Steve. This afternoon, rain, highs in the upper 30s. Northeast winds around 5 miles an hour, chance of rain near 100%. Tonight, rain and snow in the evening. That's what we call a mixed bag, Steve, of precipitation. Snow accumulations 1 to 3 inches. That's a lot of inches. Lows near 10. That's low. That's pretty low. North winds 5 to 10. Chance of precipitation near 100%. Chance of participation in the match game is 100% also. We welcome Jordan into the studio. How are you? He didn't think you were going to make it.
He needs a microphone. There you go. I didn't say I knew he was going to make it. I just said we might
Jordan
have a minute
likes
or
when
two.
I do the weather.
Sorry, I was late because I was re-listening to your guys' excellent interview with John O'Dearna.
Thank you.
It was really good. Love having John O'Dearna on the program.
All right, what do you got?
Not a Star Wars guy, go that John O'Dearna. We got the match game. It's for Duke, and it's for Cal.
Okay.
We're all looking forward to Duke. I ate last week, by the way, in the match game, and I'm still very far behind. Your post-game show.
So does this mean I'm winning, by the way? Is that what that...
Yeah.
That's the standings?
Yeah.
Okay. How about that?
Total points.
Good comeback.
Paulie was up, and then he kind of just fell behind. I think it was the week that Paul filled in for him.
That was the turning point?
Yeah. Unless I just messed it up.
Who cares?
Yeah. All right. Let's
ask him why, Steve. Get your answer.
I think we need the music.
Oh, what did I do?
I don't know. You turned it off. That's the whole reason we do this.
Oh,
now
my
we're gonna,
bad.
now
Yeah,
we're gonna miss card
I
tricks.
couldn't tell. Hold on.
We're gonna miss card tricks.
These blue ones are here. You want these?
Steve, can I do the weather on News Channel 9? People would like to know.
No.
I suggested that already.
That's a hard no. You're barely like Bridge Street material. You were on Bridge Street one time.
Yeah.
Just not as a guest host. I asked you twice. You said no, and then that was it.
We should just have a normal conversation over this music. Honestly, not even play the game.
This should just play the whole show.
Without talking. Okay, if you don't know, me and Paulie did a watch party for the Stanford game. And we're doing another one for the Cal game! Whoa! And we stood and clapped until the first basket happened.
That happened, Steve.
7 minutes and
7 game minutes, right?
35 seconds,
it was 20 real minutes.
Of game time?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And Paulie promised yesterday that on this week's edition of the Match Game, we would ask how long the stand and clap for Duke will be.
For Duke?
Yes. Now, as somebody who listens to the show despite contrasting reports, I now ask you guys, how long will the stand and clap be for Duke in game time?
We'll score the second basket of the game very quickly. So
it's very specific.
37 seconds.
Whoa.
That is very specific. So this is our first question, huh? I'm gonna go. I'll say 90 seconds. I'll say a minute and a half in.
I was kind of on the same page as you, Paulie. I think this is going to be a big game, and Syracuse will come out, excited.
They may not score again the whole game, but
yeah. I'm going to go under you. First possession that they get the ball, I'm going to go like 29 seconds.
Oh, you did the $1 on me, basically.
I did. Cooper Flagg, noted great basketball player, great nickname, the Main Event, because he's from Maine. Averages 20, 8, and 4 on the season. Points, rebounds, assists. What will his total be against Syracuse on Tuesday? You can tell how much I care about the Cal game versus the Duke game.
36. 51 in our chat. Whoa.
What is he? What is that?
Wow.
Like 30, 15, and 6? Jeez. What am I gonna? I'll give him 34. I'm gonna give him like 18, 12, and 4.
I was going 22, 12, and 3, which would be 37. But yeah, okay. I was gonna say I would go 36 just so we could get a golf clap out of it. I think we're all in the same range.
Yeah,
we're all on the same page.
Let's just.
LA Orange said the Cal is more relevant for ACC Bubble Watch tournament. ACC tournament Bubble Watch.
Yeah, you can tell how much I'm worried about that. In the Cal game, which we're now turning to tomorrow, you guys talked about their center, Sissoko, who may or may not play. Hopefully he does. He's had double-digit rebounds in their last couple of games that he's participated.
Were they real rebounds, though, or were they Eddie Lampkin rebounds?
I don't know. Some of them were in overtime. Do those count as real rebounds? Who knows? Who will have more rebounds in the Cal game? Lampkin or Sissoko? And if he doesn't play, we'll just void it entirely. I'll give you 2 points for a push if we want to get frisky.
Lampkin.
I think Lampkin, too. I mean, they rely on him so much to hit the boards, especially with Freeman out. And we've seen what he's capable of when he's invested. They got to win this game. Like, there's no excuses, right?
They got to win the last one, too.
This is a... Yeah, but
and
I mean,
they
got off to that horrendous start, and you knew the game was over. And maybe you could chalk it up a little bit to, well, it was the road. They've been out there for 6 days or whatever it is. So
I'm going to be you right now, because why do they have to win this game?
They've got to win this game to separate themselves from the bottom half of the conference, or not even the bottom half, but the guys who are in danger of missing out on the ACC tournament. I think just you being a Division I athlete,
pride.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like to come out and fall behind 25-2. And I know people keep saying, well, slow starts, that's a reflection of the coach. At some point, though, and I'm not saying that he doesn't shoulder some of the blame. Obviously, there's plenty of blame to go around with this thing. But at some point, individually as a competitor, you have to care.
Yeah.
You have to go out and care.
Right.
And you get, when to fall behind 25-2, that, to me, that's very concerning. Like, that should not happen.
You know what else? We talked about the tiers of basketball. I always say Syracuse isn't Duke, Kansas, UConn, but you're Syracuse.
Yeah.
You're freaking Syracuse. You're better than Cal, and you have to be.
We saw this with the lacrosse program, that they went through this dip where they went to Final Fours every year, and you expect them to go to Final Fours, and they went through this dip where, they finished below 500. Like that doesn't happen. You come to Syracuse to go to Final Fours in lacrosse, and they've been fighting to get back to that point. But there is certainly a pride that comes with putting on a Syracuse jersey, and you would hope that still exists with the basketball team as well. That's why they have to win. You have to come out and play for that pride, show that pride in this game. So I know that there are fans that have checked out on this season, but for the players and coaches, I think this is a really, really important game. It's a team that you're on the same level as. You're probably better than them. Go out and show it. Beat them.
I know he's being funny, but it kind of makes sense. Steel Palace 95 says, you come to Syracuse to lose in Sweet 16s. Yes. Yeah. That's right, you do. All right. What else you got, Jordan?
Well, first off, I'm going to go Lampkin for that last rebounds prop, which means we all went Lampkin. Wow. Let's move over to Lax, fellas. Jacksonville, Syracuse tomorrow. I'm going to give you two quick ones. Joey Spallina, how many points will he have? For those who don't know what's happening here, that is goals and assists.
Can I just say something real quick? I don't mean to jump out. And I see LA Orange's comment about, me blaming players opposed to coaches. I'm going to go back to former athlete days for a second.
Okay. Trolls.
No, he's not being a troll. I think it's a good question. I don't take it as like a negative statement.
Just
give me a second here.
We're a third of the way through. We're at card sharks. All right, go ahead.
Being a former player, right? I don't think I cannot remember a coach saying something in the pregame speech in the locker before I took the floor that made me play better or made me feel like, okay, now I'm ready. Like there is an individual responsibility collectively as a team and as an individual player to be ready to play. When the ball goes up, you have to be ready to play. Did anybody think they looked ready to play against Stanford? And again, I'm not saying that the coaches aren't part of the blame, but as a player, I'm not putting that on my coach. Well, we fell behind 25-2 because Adrian Autry didn't say the right things before we took the court, right? There is a personal responsibility to come ready to play as a Division I athlete. And I wasn't even a Division I athlete. I'm just saying there is a personal responsibility, and we're not seeing it with this team. And I think that I saw somebody the other day mention, is this team uncoachable? And I do wonder if some of these players are very difficult to coach. And again, as the coach, that's his job. He's got to get through to them. But I think 25-2 says more about the players than it does about the coach. That's my opinion, but I feel very strongly about that. Anyway, let's move on.
I'm sorry to laugh. When Card Sharks started picking up as you're in the middle of that speech,
he was getting heated.
It was just crazy.
I'm ready to play for Steve right now. I'm ready to run through a wall for him.
So Spallina goals and assists versus Jacksonville. I'm gonna go 9. I'm gonna be very aggressive.
6.
I like 6. I like that. I think there's going to be plenty of everybody eats like the Bills offense. I think there's going to be plenty of points to go around, but I'll give them 6.
The match game is really loud. You can't hear the whoa over it.
Yeah. How many goals total will Syracuse have against Jacksonville?
15.
12.
Give me 18. I'm being really, really aggressive.
This is a match game. First, we ran out of Card Sharks.
Yeah, we did. What will the announced point spread be at open for the Duke game? Back to the Duke game. You can tell where my interest lies.
Duke.
I'm going to say
it's going to be favored
15
by
and a half. I'm going to say
17 3/4. 17 and a half.
What is this, like a soccer spread? The old Asian soccer handicap, as they call it. It's funny you guys do that because I was thinking 16. So I'm going to do that.
And that's giving them the 3 points for home field advantage.
How many fans will be at the Duke game? What will the announced what will the announced attendance be for
26,252. I don't know why that made me laugh so.
If you get it exactly right, it's like in the old NBA street games, you have the shut them down move, you automatically win. If you get that exactly right, you win the match.
If I get it right, will you put $100 in your pocket and let me reach in and grab it out? Like Bob Barker used to do, which was completely inappropriate.
No.
How did they get away with that?
It's a different time.
The contestant would reach into his pocket.
Yeah,
right?
that's creepy. Yeah. But it was only women. Like he would put the $100 in his pocket and let women reach in and grab it.
Well, because he reminded people to spay and neuter their pets. So,
it was
sets, right?
I'm going 22,000.
Give me, I'm thinking like 24-5.
All right.
What would the record be in the next 2 games, the Orange?
2-0. No, I'm kidding. I'm going 1-1. I think they beat Cal. Show some freaking excitement about this game.
Oh, my gosh, you're pissed. He's pissed.
I feel like they need to play with passion and, like, show that they care and beat this team. They're going 1-1.
Frickin'.
Or against Duke and Cal?
They're beating Cal.
Okay.
You just said frickin'.
What's their record after the next 2 games? 1-1.
I'm really sorry. 0-2. Those West Coast road trips, man. What will the combined?
Why do you hate Syracuse?
I don't. I hate life.
I get it.
Syracuse specifically. And then the point differential between the 2 games combined.
Win by 6, lose by 20, so 14. Minus 14.
20.
I think they're getting run out of the gym on Wednesday.
Negative 33.
Wow. That's somebody in our chat. Phil in our chat said the same thing. How about that?
Wow.
That deserves that. That deserves a wow.
8-point loss to Cal, 25-point loss to Duke. Sorry. I say that every time I say something negative. If you're listening out there on the West Coast, because I know that's exactly what the Orange are doing out there in Cal. They put us on during practice. Get pissed at me and use it as motivation. I don't want to be a jerk, but I just want to give my honest thoughts the same way John O'Dearna did in that excellent interview earlier.
All right, we got to take a time out here. We're falling behind. We've got today's business coming up next. Phone line's still open if you want to check in. 315-437-7644. Back after this on ESPN Radio.
NBA blew by not putting LaMelo Ball in the All-Star game. He's like the biggest star.
Guys, this is a big today's business. I went back and I got the numbers from our preseason futures bets. I'll give you a spoiler.
No spoilers.
Okay.
Especially because I'm not in it.
So Steel Palace, there is, I guess there is a chance he's going to play. He's back practicing, but again, he's missed some time. I don't know that they're not going to rush him back just so he can play against Syracuse. So I think there's a decent chance he's going to play, but I don't think it's a definite just because he's back practicing. What were you going to say?
I pointed at the wrong paper.
I did in the preseason. I talked about the Jets though. I was wrong about the Jets.
You strategically overloaded on one play that hit.
I honestly don't remember. I do have. Well, I'll save it for the air.
We all had different strategies that led us in the direction we ended up in.
Gotcha. Well, I look forward to hearing the results. I just remember that I was high on the Jets, and that was.
Oh, hold on.
That was a mistake.
This is a good one. I get it because LA Orange is implying that we have to be positive or else we're going to get fired. That's good. More people should use that angle. That's a good one. All right. I'm going to go out there, and then maybe I'll see who's on the phone.
Hey, did you know the word I had to teach Steve? I don't know what word you're talking about. Tracker word? Oh. Steve didn't know what that was. Yeah.
Everybody knows. How does everybody know?
Everybody knows. You haven't lived, Steve.
Steel Palace, I wonder, I don't know about chemistry. I've kind of said this at various times. I wonder how invested this. I don't think this is a Syracuse thing, but I think we're seeing with NIL that I think it's easy when things go south. Like when guys don't come to Syracuse, they come to Syracuse because it's their best NIL option or they're here for 1 year. And I'm using Syracuse as the example, but I think we're seeing this around the country. Like, look at what's going on in Miami. I think it's easy for guys not to be invested.
Yeah, once you're out, you're out.
Yeah, it's like, well, I got secure my bag type of situation. And I'm not saying that's what's going on with these guys, but I think it's easier for players to not be invested about the block S. You know, we hear Fran Brown talk about the block S. The guys who come here for 1 year just to make NIL.
It shows in records. Because when it goes south badly for these teams.
Yeah. At FSU football, Miami basketball, like we've seen instances of this where, again, I'm not singling out Eddie Lampkin, but does Eddie Lampkin care about Syracuse basketball? Or is Eddie Lampkin here to make some money, play some hoops? Like, oh, shucks, it's not going the way we want it to, but I'm still good. I'm going to move on to my next thing, in a couple of months. I just don't know if there is the same respect for, like the Block S in this situation or, whatever program you're talking about. Is there that, do people care, right? Do they have the same passion that they would if they played at a school for 4 years? Like, look at what Clemson's doing. They've got, a majority of their starting lineup has been there their entire career. Like, that doesn't happen anymore. But I think you're seeing, like, that is that chemistry? Is it familiarity? Is it guys care more about Clemson basketball and what they're doing? They care for their coach. They play for their coach. I don't know.
Well, Red said the most important thing is retention.
I'm not picking on Eddie Lampkin. I'm just using him as an example. He's here obviously for 1 year. He's like a rental. Like, is there the same passion for a guy like that as there would be for, like Ian Scheffler, for instance?
I really am sorry for almost like crying. Just like it sounded like very like Miami Vice. I was getting like Miami Vice vibes as you were giving the dramatic speech. Like,
welcome back to Orange Nation, your artist of the day, Chicago. Before we get into today's business, let's go to our inspiration, Scooter.
Wow, that was interesting. I've never seen heard a full contact Nats game before. That was pretty interesting Nats game you guys had.
Thank you.
Steve, when Sarah was your host, you had a problem with your voice, and you got a doctor that sent you a prescription to send you to Florida. I was kind of looking for that same doctor. Can you give me his names? Because I'd like to go to Vegas to lose this cold right now.
Yeah, we'll talk off air, Scooter. I'll get you.
Okay. You got me laughing, Paulie, about maybe Steve kind of conveniently not showing up for after Syracuse losses. The all-time best was on Bridge Street when Steve holds the record for the youngest person getting hurt on chair yoga. And the very next week they had children's karate class. They're going to have a segment on it, and we're all waiting for Steve to kind of go into karate, and he conveniently wasn't there for that show, so we kind of think he bagged that show. McCord, I disagree with your caller. If I was a Giants fan, I would take McCord over Gabriel any day of the week just because of the environment you got to play in with the wind currents and stuff. McCord's got a much stronger arm than Gabriel, and I think that's what you got to look at where you're going to go. Gabriel doesn't have the arm strength to throw the sideline patterns as McCord does, and it'll be interesting to see because I'm not sure some of the more popular quarterbacks. I couldn't believe how bad how Colorado played against Brigham Young. Sanders basically couldn't read Brigham Young's defense. I think he was sacked about 4 times through 4 interceptions, and I think McCord about the same day. I think that was the same day of the game. I just think McCord's a better. Given the right circumstance, can actually, if you got quarterbacks, I just think he can make it in the NFL given the right system. But I'd take him over Gabriel.
Yeah, and it does sound like a no-brainer, Scooter, that, people were saying, well, why wouldn't he come back one more year? Why didn't he wait to get the decision from the NCAA? It sounds like the feedback he's getting, to the point where last night he felt like he didn't even have to play in the game. That's how well the week went for him with the NFL scouts. So, I think it is a no-brainer that Kyle McCord move on, and I'm with you. I think he's got a chance to make it. Probably starts as a backup somewhere, but I think he's got a chance to stick in the league for a while, Paulie.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind the Steelers snagging him in the second round. I'd be all for it.
Good value. Somebody's going to get good value with that pick. All right.
It's time for today's business, brought to you by who?
Grossman St. Amour CPAs.
Jordan Jordan, what's the website?
GSACPAs.com.
What do you got?
I got a big update, guys. Do you remember before the season, we did this activity where we each had 100 doll hairs to place on various NFL futures bets?
Yes.
So we all did that.
How'd we do?
Well, I can tell you this. Everybody was profitable. So that's a good start.
That's good.
At least by my math, which I've had to edit like 1,000 times because I stink at it. But everybody was profitable. So here's kind of the breakdown. Steve, you very much benefited from a strategy of placing 40% of your bankroll on the Texans to win their division. That ended up helping you along with picking the Chiefs to win the conference, as well as the Bears to miss the playoffs. You very easily led this activity with $80 net profit.
Nice.
So $100 ended with $180.25.
I'll take it.
Paulie, you squeaked out a little bit of money.
Thank you.
What really helped you was you put 25% of your bankroll on the Steelers to make the playoffs at plus 185. So that really helped you get into the green. The Ravens to win the division also helped you there. And you took the Jets under in wins. So with the $100 bet, you finished with 26 and some change in profit.
Woo! That's a pack.
Don't spend it
That's
all
a box
on
of cards. I get it.
And I totally put all my eggs in the Chicago Bears basket and Caleb Williams dropping that basket and smashing the eggs. I took them to miss the playoffs and get under 8.5 wins. They were both somehow plus money. I will never understand that until I die. I also took the Chiefs to win the conference. So I was up $33 over the course of this season, which means when you combine our money, if you had taken all those bets, you would have $139 and some change.
How about that?
Profit.
It's a long time to wait for that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It seems really fun. And this is why I hate futures bets, because you could have just invest it. I don't know how much money you would need to put in there and wait. But for example, put $100 in, wait 4 months and get $26 profit. Meh.
This is more fun, though.
Yeah. Only other thing I have for you is the NBA All-Stars are out, and I've compiled a list of some of the snubs from well-known names like Trae Young, who, per sources at the producer's desk that I didn't check, may be the first player to ever average 20 points and 10 assists and miss the All-Star game twice in those seasons. Domantas Sabonis for the Kings, who's averaging nearly 20 and 15.
I've seen him play live. He's legit.
And the LaMelo Ball, the second most famous Ball brother after LiAngelo.
You need that name.
Swerve on that corner.
You need that name in the All-Star game. The NBA doesn't get it.
Especially him being in.
He was voted by the players and the fans too.
What do you mean?
He got player
if he had gotten voted into it, he would be in it.
I thought he did. For some reason, I was watching a thing on it last night, but I don't know what it meant. I just say dumb things.
I saw Devin Booker. I was just looking at where Devin Booker is in terms of stats. So he's 11th in the NBA right now in scoring. I saw a quote from him where he kind of shrugged it off and he said, when I was growing up, all of the best players made it to the All-Star game, and now that's not the case. And it kind of feels like that now. Devin Booker is... I was going to say top 10 scorer. He's 11th, essentially a top 10 scorer in the NBA, and he's left off. And I don't know, it's a little head scratching. Some of these guys getting left off.
He led fan voting in his position, making him the first player in NBA history to top his category in votes and still miss the team.
LaMelo Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would assume
that's head scratching, Paulie. That it's
How does that even happen? Well, LaMelo is in the East. I don't know. Fans vote.
I mean, LaMelo is 4th in the NBA in scoring. He's averaging 28 a game.
You know what it must be?
How is he not in the All-Star game?
At LaMelo's position, so the two guards there who I should have in front of me and don't must be at a different position. I don't know. That's another thing that's goofy with is they just do front court and back court. So the position also doesn't do. Yeah, Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell are starting. So They are calling both of them shooting guards and LaMelo a point guard, so that must be what happened.
I mean, Darius Garland made the team.
What's your problem with Darius?
I mean, he's fine, but he's not better than...
Dude, come on, the Cavs.
I know the Cavs, but is he better than LaMelo Ball? I don't know.
Dateline, Pennsauken, New Jersey. A tractor-trailer crashed into a building in Camden County, New Jersey on Thursday night. Authorities say the truck slammed into 2120 Gentlemen's Club.
Oh.
Truckers welcome, the sign says out front.
Trucks welcome.
Sorry, I'm looking at the NBA All-Star roster.
He's
all right,
so
we got
mad
break.
about Darius Garland.
We got to be on time.
James Harden made the West team over Devin Booker. Back after this on ESPN Radio. Well, I totally missed your kicker. I was focused.
A tractor-trailer crashed into a strip club.
And it said truckers welcome.
It didn't really. That was my joke. I just made the joke. It was a Pauly joke.
It was a Pauly joke. Oh, sorry. What were you reading? Sorry.
Sometimes I write my. We did play 25 of 6 to 4 guys already.
Wait, what?
Kill the mics for 1 second.
Wow, Steve just taught us what something was on Urban Dictionary. Holy cow. Wow. Steve.
Oh, that was way off.
My head dipped in there as you were shooting.
I never knew what a fudgicle was until you told me. I don't even know if that's a thing, but it sounded funny.
It's got to be a thing.
Steve just taught me what a fudgicle was. A pudding pop.
I had to go sit in my car for 10 minutes earlier because I was so mad.
About what?
About
Steve, by the way,
the guy who called the guest line to say Paulie is an asshole and
how would he have the guest
fired,
line?
And like the station call-in line, and then into somebody
the 315-437-7664.
Yeah. Oh. And then somebody calling our phone line who clearly wasn't listening to the show as I was trying to get Schmeelk on. Just really was a bad turn of events.
I am an a-hole.
I just hate when people, this number that you used to call when you want to participate in a radio show, I should call that and then complain and not go on the air on it. I'm sure
if you're going to call me an a-hole, I would allow you to put the guy on the air that thinks I'm an a-hole.
Well, that's what I said. I literally, he blah, blah, blah. I was like, would you like to go on the boop?
That would have been made for fun radio.
All right. I hope everybody has a good weekend. I'm logging off the chat now because I have class and I have to get ready to leave.
You do have class, Steve. That's what separates you from me. You look classy today.
That is a great, the shirt accent matches.
You like it?
You look like a bad guy from an 80s teen angst movie.
Looks like the quarter zip looks like it has a nice texture. It looks sturdy.
Steve is dressed like the guy you would hate in Goonies or Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah, I
can't. This is a brand new. Kim just brought me this phone. It's brand new. Brand new.
Are you going to remember that as the one that the first time you wore it, you cursed
Steve is
live
dark.
on the air?
I did not curse.
Hey, you did?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. So then I'll make sure to just republish it everywhere. Great moments in Orange Nation history. Where were you when Steven Fonte said, "Frickin'"?
Where were you when he learned what was?
My favorite, so casual, I know, and then I gave you another name for it.
Wait, what?
Oh, no. We've corrupted you enough for one day.
Some people also refer to that as 2 in the 1 in the.
That's how
the other 2 words are on. Look, dude, it's like when you're like a kid at summer camp, kids learn what that means and they're like,
I never went to summer camp, so
that explains so much, dude. That explains.
You probably
so
would have cried
much.
and asked to come home.
This guy was never on. This guy never spent overnight sleeping outside of the summer camp.
I know. No. Hang on. I did overnights at basketball camps. I did a lot of basketball camps.
Salacious.
I never went to
There's something different.
Like Lord's Camp. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
like that?
kind of.
Yeah,
I went to Camp
Lord's
Iroquois, so they do the overnights, and like there were counselors there, but like a good portion
Not
of it was
the
just
Lord's camp. Lord's.
Could you? Isn't that great? Could you?
This is
somebody out there.
This
just
is
check
the
if
Lord's
house
camp.
Rod, thank you. It was lawless. Like counselors go to sleep, maybe sneak off and like drink in another area, and you're just there.
Welcome back to Orange Nation. Don't forget Brewfest tomorrow. CNYBrewfest.com for your tickets. Saturday in the park. Tomorrow will be a Saturday of basketball and lacrosse.
Oh, the Royal Rumble's tomorrow. Royal Rumble is also tomorrow. I'm so excited.
We'll doink the cloud and be there. Your choices for Monday. We could do The Day the Music Died and play all of those artists because it will be February.
Get rid of the promo.
February 3rd is The Day the Music Died. Beyonce, Tone Loc, David Bowie, Frank Sinatra, David Bowie, Tone Loc, Beyonce, The Day the Music Died.
I'm going to defer to you. Do you want Sinatra?
I don't care.
Because of your mom, right?
Yeah, don't do it. I'm going to go The Day the Music Died.
And so am I then. I was going to let you choose.
In less than 5 seconds, why do I know the name Tone Loc?
A wild
rapper.
Thing?
Oh, what? Wait.
She'd like to do. You know what that song's about, Steve?
Wrong Wild
Yes,
Thing.
I do. We got to go. Newhouse Afternoon's coming up next. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. We'll see you on Monday.